All right, I think we are live.
Hey,
How is
hey
everyone
everybody.
doing?
We're here. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah, no, agreed. I agree.
We're live, right? Oh yeah, okay. It wasn't showing up for me on Twitch, but it's working now.
Nice.
Incredibly nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a week. I guess I've not been keeping up too much with the happenings of the hobby and whatnot. I guess it's
Yeah, I feel
soon
not
time for
that
the
much has
release.
happened.
Yeah, it's soon time for the release of Leviathan, right?
Yeah, no, I think this
I guess
Saturday maybe.
that's maybe what people are most excited about. Um,
Y- Yeah, I feel because of that though, there isn't as much going on. Like it's not like there's a new Sunday preview or something.
I feel the most exciting or interesting thing they showed another Cities of Sigmar thing sometime maybe earlier this week. Um, and this I feel is almost maybe a little more interesting than I was expecting. It's a model of an ogre that has this kind of stupid watchtower thing on their back with a human like get a gun.
Yeah, yeah.
I think overall I like the ogre mainly because it's a little different than what a lot of the ogres have traditionally been for a while at Games Workshop. This one is a little taller, has more slender limbs and whatnot, and looks a little more like mobile and agile than a lot of the ones in the past. And like I kind of like that. I do feel much like the majority of the Age of Sigmar stuff that they've shown us, it's certainly overwrought. Like the shield's stupid, the watchtower thing on his back's stupid, his club looks pretty stupid. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Is this like a character or something? Or is it just I don't
I don't know. Based on the fact that there's someone in the crow's nest thing, kind of suggests that it is, but maybe not though, because called an ogre warhawk, so maybe it's just a thing. It's not clear.
Yeah. I mean overall I think it's pretty neat, and if you were interested in converting like a Warhammer ogre or an ogre from Mordheim or something, this could potentially be an option. It does sort of suggest that the model is much larger than even some of the other ogre models they've made, like the one for the Iron Golems that was released a few years ago, for instance.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think if you stripped away some of the stuff on it, it would be right at home in Mordheim. And even a lot of like it still has the Sigmar S's and all that stuff, so you wouldn't necessarily have to do that much. Or at least you might not have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel I'm not sure what people think of it. Like I haven't seen really online what people are saying. I could see some disliking how over the top stuff is, but I mean, I feel we've kind
Sorted
of
Age
seen
of
that writing.
Sigmar.
Yeah, that's Age of Sigmar and just the other Cities of Sigmar stuff. We've kind of seen that writing on the wall, but I think you just have to look past some of those things and appreciate that some of the proportions of it
Yeah, it
are a
honestly
bit more
looks like
slender and stuff.
some of the older Warhammer, like old Hammer ogres and stuff that were released a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I feel certainly the fact that it has like the crow's nest and some of that I don't think is particularly cool. But you wouldn't, or at least someone in our like what we're interested in, you would never buy this with the thought of keeping it like it is.
Yeah.
You'd remove all that. Does can you play the video? Like, does it show its back or something like that?
Oh, is there a video? Oh, there is a video.
I mean, I assume it doesn't have much, but maybe it. There's a slight thing. Okay, so that's suggesting that it can have some different weapon arms, right?
And the dude on top can change too. Yeah, different weapon options, different head options. They do a great job of never showing the back of the model. Yeah, wow, they really don't. But it is interesting. They have it
Can
modified
you go
that
to the beginning of the video again?
you can put the shield on either hand, which that's good. So like if
That
you
is
don't
good.
want to use the dumb shield, you don't necessarily have to because they have
Yeah,
options.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
And the gunner at the top looks like you can pose them to one be kind of shooting whatever the rifle thing is, or just kind of leaning on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so overall, that's pretty good. It'll certainly make it even easier for people to convert and do stuff with the model. And honestly, they're not even in a really ridiculous pose. Like their legs are spread out pretty wide, but I guess in this case he's trying to brace that stupid thing on their back, but
Mm-hmm. Pretty neat.
yeah, I think just in general, the overall proportions of the model are just a lot better. Like the size of the feet compared to the rest of the body in the model are much more reasonable for like a normal humanoid like figure.
I think
Boy, would that crow's nest thing be heavy, though.
Yeah, it sure would.
yeah, I think like we were saying, it is so much just um like what you would expect from Cities of Sigmar, because everything is so overwrought and filled with little cartouches and metal work designs and whatnot.
Yeah. I do I do sort of feel like if you were interested in making like more time terrain and other stuff, like this little watchtower thing could easily just be taken and put like on the side of a building or
Oh, very
something.
much so.
So I feel in that regard. And there's even like I think a little lantern hanging from the top. Like it's a nice little lantern for terrain and whatnot.
Yeah, it's true.
And I mean even that the dumb tower shield, That I feel could be used on a building or something.
That's true, or to make an interesting door or something.
Yeah. So I think overall it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's better than I expected.
Yeah, much better. Oh, there was something. This is. I mean, I don't. I never didn't read any of this stuff because I didn't care. But they have a new thing for Blood Bowl called Gutter Bowl. I don't know what it is, but does anyone know what it is?
I do
Or
not.
the game of street level fantasy football mayhem. It's played in the streets and sewers. Interesting. I wonder how it differs from the other versions of Blood Bowl. Or and if like maybe it was already a thing people have been playing for years and they're just releasing something for it. I mean, I guess that's good-ish. I bet whatever it
Mhm.
is, if they actually release like a boxed set for it, I'm sure they won't have any new models for it.
Yeah, that's sort of the sad thing that it's just another way.
Wait, the box packs in 2 game boards with matching dugouts, a 32-page rulebook. Huh. So I think it's just the rule book and the new like smaller board. Huh. I guess that's fine. I I wonder if it'll actually be a compelling addition or just something that no one will ever want to play.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because now there are a ton of these in a
Yeah,
way.
there are. Well, were there actually new Saturday pre-orders?
I don't think
No.
there were new ones, but this coming Saturday, like I think they're gonna be new stuff, but it's not much. It's just they're putting up the core rule book to buy.
Whoa, so the core rulebook to buy, it has a different cover.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than,
Huh,
or at least it's a lot more
That does look
interesting.
kind of cool.
Like this looks like, I can't really tell, but maybe that's Abaddon fighting someone, or maybe it's just a Chaos Lord. Yeah, I feel this cover is more
yeah.
reminiscent of what
You'd
like other,
expect
yeah,
from.
what you'd expect in older editions of the game and whatnot, where the cover of the game or the rule book depicted a battle scene which sort of gave you a sense of what you were getting into. So I
It
feel that's a
seems
lot
maybe
better.
it's better too, because it says it's 280 pages. I'm pretty sure that means it's smaller than the Leviathan. I kind of thought when I watched GMG's thing or Ash talking about it, I thought it was like 200 some pages of just like some background with like pictures of all the core boxes or the battle ready army boxes and
Hmm.
stuff, talking about them. So perhaps this has cut out some of that. There's
It's
also like a
it gives you a note. It gives you a note saying if you have the Leviathan book, you have everything that's in this book, so you don't need it. Yeah, you're right. There is a limited edition that looks kind of neat. It
bunch of Blanche art.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
has.
because there are some little prints or whatever with at least the second edition artwork on it.
Yeah.
Maybe some others. It's hard to tell.
It's limited to 1,600 copies. Like, how much do you think this is gonna cost? $500?
$250 or something.
Gonna be ridiculous.
It'll be sold out in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I feel the limited edition rule books, I feel they're one of maybe the biggest wastes of money. Um, because like some of their other limited edition like Black Library books and stuff, I could see them, you maybe wanting them a little bit more. But like this, like once it goes on to the new edition, no one's gonna care about this. I mean, some of the prints and stuff are, I would say, are cool, but you could probably find similar cool prints elsewhere, and hell, Games Workshop probably even sells them. And like these coins, they've been offering coins like this forever, and
Yeah.
they're not that interesting. So yeah, we know it's going to be outrageously expensive, and sure, it'll look cool, but I don't see how anyone could justify the price. Like, maybe since they're
Agreed.
1,600, if they got John to sign it or something, or even like the head rule designers or whatever to sign it, then like maybe that would be more of a collector piece. But you would get it and you would never want to use it. You'd probably barely even want to open it in fear that you'd ruin it.
Yeah.
There's even a collector's edition of this Crusade book. With like, wait, does it even look different? Like the text
It's gold
is gold?
embossed.
Like, what the fuck?
That's pretty sad. Yeah, this because every time there's a new edition, you see someone on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, showing like this is my collection of paperweights from the previous editions from like having played for the last 10 years or something, and it's like
Yeah.
someone's garage full of
Well, Greg, I remember when we were in
books.
graduate school, for a long time, like I was buying and mostly reading nearly every hardcover codex they released.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a mistake. That was back when nearly all the covers were illustrated by what was their name? Raymond Swanland, I believe, an artist who does a
Yeah.
lot of magic stuff. And all of
They
those, I
weren't very
feel
good.
they were well done, but I don't feel they had the spirit of Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah, I feel they were well done, but I don't know, almost I would say uninspired.
Yeah.
Well, in some sense, part of that was just because they were also just like one character, usually, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas part of what I think of for 40K and Games Workshop in general, I think of all those John Blanche
Mm-hmm.
covers and such, then it's just like lots of interesting characters that you can spend a little while just marveling at, oh, who's in the corner here and
Yeah.
what weird stuff's there. And that allows some of the artists, at least at times, to have free reign and create interesting things that
Yeah.
aren't just in models. Whereas those covers, just didn't have that, even though they, looked nice enough.
I mean, they were ultimately forgettable. No one is going to think back and like, man, that was the quintessential Space Marine Codex cover or something. Like, people will always remember, if you were playing, everyone will remember the third edition Chaos Codex, which honestly was just of a single Chaos Terminator, but that was illustrated by
Wayne England,
Wayne
right?
England, and it was just like iconic and interesting. And
With really taut skin,
yeah, like
shiny
that's
skin.
memorable. Yeah, so they have some more. They have a thing on Warhammer Community Staff Tackle. The Space Marines of Leviathan. Let's look at them. This little Iron Raven Guard look pretty good, honestly.
Yeah. So
And they
did they
probably
paint
painted
all of
them.
the Leviathan stuff? My goodness.
They they painted these probably pretty quickly, and they look nice, I feel. Now here, Darcy, they've done Darcy and some of the other ones coming up. They've done what you'd expect. They just painted the Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
What most people were probably interested in. Here, someone painted them as the Terminators as Mantis Warriors. That's fun.
Oh, yeah, that is fun.
Oh, and they're also sort of close to my heart. Instead of drilling out the barrels to the Stormbolters, they just painted them.
No time for anything else, and why would you want to?
And I mean, if you don't do it perfectly, they'd look terrible anyway,
Yeah, it
so.
looks worse. It's interesting for how big those are. You would think they would have just been like pre-drilled.
At least partially, yeah.
I mean, it would have probably looked bad because they would have made it even bigger than most people.
I really wish, like, looking at these Terminators, they look pretty nice, but I really wish their guns were half the size. They would
The
look
one,
markedly better.
the one, I think his name's Chris Froston or something. He's a YouTuber that does some painting and lots of unboxing and some minor conversion work and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a thing and maybe unboxing the Leviathan stuff, or possibly was just looking at the Terminators from it.
Yeah.
And he was like laughing about how it's ridiculous how small they made the Terminator Sergeant's sword.
Wait, what? It's huge.
And like how you'll have to make that bigger. It's just like a face palm to that.
It's huge. Like, I could see, like, the length of it, I feel, is honestly fine for how big the armor and stuff is, but it could be much more slender than it is, because, like, right now, it's like they're swinging around, like, an
Yeah,
eye
I was
beam or
honestly
something.
kind of happy to see that they kind of left that like the older
Yeah, I mean,
versions, not small, but also not.
I think I've gotten to the point where I almost despise the shape of Space Marine power swords. They just look so stupid. They're not shaped like any real sword. They're way too big. The pommels are like fucking huge. Like, I don't like them. I really don't like them.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the Sister of Battle models, they have oversized swords, but at least they're shaped more like a real sword, and I feel you could very easily just replace all of the Space Marine swords with some of the Sister of Battle swords, and they'd look a lot better. A lot better. What do people think of this new Leviathan Mortis pattern dreadnought? I don't know what they call. What are they actually called? Ballistus
Ma-
dreadnought.
I don't know.
It very much reminds me of some of the walkers and stuff in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah,
Like
because it's
all
all legs.
And in many regards, I feel it mostly makes sense because for it to actually move around and stuff, it would probably need longer and more
I
articulated
initially
legs.
thought of that mech from RoboCop. It
Oh,
probably doesn't. It probably doesn't actually look like that mech from RoboCop, but that was the first thing that I thought of.
I think I mostly like it, honestly. It it looks a little more reserved than what most of the shit looks like.
I find it interesting that they obviously, or I'm pretty sure, obviously kept the general repulsor dreadnought or whatever
Yeah,
the
no
original
one knows what the
Primaris
shit's
dreadnought,
called.
and because they made a Furioso like style one that had two power
Mm-hmm.
fists not that long ago.
Yeah.
They made the original one, and this is the one that has weapons on all sides. And I find it interesting that they decide to just keep a twin link las cannon and like the missile launcher thing, so they kept the generic old dreadnought weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for the other ones, like the first Primaris dreadnought, they like let's give it even bigger assault cannon, like
Yeah.
super Primaris assault cannon and super power fist.
Yeah.
Whereas this, and I guess it all comes back to this weird place they're in that they're deciding to, they no longer want there to be a big distinction between Primaris and Firstborn
Yeah.
Marines. And like this is just replacing the old Dreadnought. But the fact that some things have been replaced, something haven't, this almost, to me, it seems like kind of a weird merger between the old
Mm-hmm.
things. And I don't know if it looks quite right. Like
Yeah.
it's not bad.
I feel like it doesn't. The top half looks kind of like an old dreadnought, look like the new dreadnought, and I don't know that it quite fits. Like, I still kind of like it.
Well, so here's a different angle of one painted as a Dark Angels one from a different angle.
That looks better.
I feel it looks pretty good. I sort of feel like if you didn't include some of the more heavily armored sarcophagus on the front, um,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a
It
little
would
more
look better.
akin to what people are used to, and maybe if you lowered the little visor a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
know. I
think it
kind of
looks
like
fine.
it.
Although I almost, like when we're going into like the bigger design like this and stuff, I'd almost rather use the Leviathan Dreadnought.
Oh
Because
yeah,
doesn't,
yeah,
I mean, maybe it doesn't have all the same weapon options. I don't even remember.
yeah.
But I think the Leviathan is smaller than this.
Hmm.
At least a little bit. Not hugely. But
Yeah,
so with their weird amount or like combination of dreadnought types and what is
yeah,
and isn't available, I feel I would just be inclined to like use whatever you think is the coolest. And I
yeah,
think kind of the Leviathan is that. Maybe.
yeah. I think that's probably true. Yeah.
Like, let me see if I can find. Oh, it's the Leviathan Siege Dreadnought has the ranged weapons. So actually, I don't think they actually have all. They don't have the right weapons. Like they have like a quad autocannon thing. They have this weird 6-barreled melta thing.
Yeah.
And they have like the grav cannon or whatever. So like you'd have to try to convert the Leviathan in some way.
yeah,
Perhaps combine it with Contemptor weapons or something.
yeah, the Leviathan, I feel, while I like it, it suffers hugely from awful weapon design.
The autocannons is okay. The melta
Yeah.
thing, the 6-barreled melta gun thing
It's
is
like,
terrible.
that's fucking atrocious.
I feel you might
I
just be able to convert from some of the Contemptor weapons or something.
I feel
don't
the
know.
Leviathan is one, since I do quite like it, but since the legs and stuff are as bulky as they are, it's much harder, I think, to pose than
Yeah, you're right.
some of
'Cause
the
this
other ones.
Imperial Fist one that they have shown with the weapons looks pretty awkward
Yeah, it's not good.
when you get to the side.
It's
Yeah,
not
I even
great.
assembled a Leviathan, or almost assembled it all, but then never fully glued it together.
It makes sense.
It'll probably never be assembled.
No, you could do it, I think. You'll be able to do it eventually.
Yeah, maybe.
You just need to get inspired. Like, if you decide to actually paint, like, a larger vehicle or something, like, maybe you'll get inspired to paint it.
That's true.
Eric, what's that shirt for?
It's a
Is that
Harry
is
Potter
that a
shirt.
okay? Is that a Hufflepuffer shirt?
Yeah, I mean, it's not specifically for the Hufflepuffers. It's just all of them.
Yeah.
I've never
But
read any of the books.
Oh yeah. Okay, it's for all. Yeah. I didn't either.
I read maybe 3 of them, and then over the COVID time, my wife listened to the Audible stuff. They're pretty good. All of it is, though, is dramatically tainted now based
Mhm.
on J.K.
Yeah.
Rowling's extreme transphobia,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it makes you kind of examine all the works from a lens of her being so
Yeah.
seemingly I don't know, conservative. And then like there's all the like the enslavement of goblins, various things, the condonement of like Slytherin, like that house
Mm-hmm.
spawned the evil uh Voldemort and whatever. But like the Salazar Slytherin, like the Slytherin families and stuff, are extremely like racist and like hate unpure bloodlines and all this stuff that is just very unpalatable.
So they have it
And
all.
and the fact that this school, this prodigious school, just accepts this and sweeps this horrible bigotry under the rug and then like celebrates it and like has a
Mhm.
fourth of their students go to that is pretty weird.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of weird elements of it, but in general it's still a pretty fun series and some interesting ideas and stuff, but it's hard to not consider
Yeah.
the viewpoints of the author when reflecting on it.
Yeah.
I recently watched all the movies, and I
They
feel
suck.
like that notion that you're talking about, like I felt like that kind of shone through too. Like at one point, towards the end, the last couple movies, like whomever takes over the school, like
Mhm.
is clearly a conservative asshole that, like, well, made you feel bad.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The movies are pretty terrible though. Or terrible is too harsh a word, but they are very much just like doing the bare minimum to like present the basis of what happened in them. Like they lose so much of the charm and interest of the books.
Well, is there
And just
charm in how it's written? Like the prose, and do you remember that? Or like the
a little
conciseness of words or something?
I don't think as much, perhaps a little bit of how it's written, but I think just sort of, or at least the first couple, kind of almost like the childish wonder of like through the lens of the
Okay.
characters and such, and interesting worlds and ideas and things. But it's not like
Or were they
Cormac
focused?
McCarthy or something where it's
Yeah.
praised due to its concise apocalyptic writing and things of that nature.
Okay, so are they like young adult novels or something, or like who are they?
I feel they were probably initially, yeah, I guess. The first couple are probably maybe a little closer to teens
Okay.
because it's like Harry was really young, and then
Okay.
it gets closer to more the young adult type.
Yeah.
But I almost feel when they were written, it was a little bit before that was defined as like a genre of fiction.
Yeah, I see. Well, rest assured, I will never read them.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny.
Not ever.
There's too much stuff, good things to try to read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Not verge too far away from Warhammer stuff, but I'm going to. That fucking submersible that was looking for the wreck of the Titanic that's trapped somewhere at the bottom of the ocean.
That's awful.
Fucking horrifying.
Like
Yeah.
it's a man submersible, right? Or
Yeah,
there are
5
people in it.
people are
Like
in it. 5
a
people are in it.
A for-profit company. I think the CEO of the company's in there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's like roughly 250 million. Probably 1,000. Shit, no. Whatever it is, was super expensive. But yeah, it's like a father and son from maybe like a Middle Eastern country or something, an oil conglomerate or something's in there. The CEO of the company, then an adventurer. So I don't know, 5 people are in there.
Gosh, that's
And
awful.
like yeah, it's so weird because it's like a little submersible that the people are literally bolted inside of it. Like there's no hatch or anything. They bolted them inside of
Well,
it.
apparently it's so deep that like the the depth, the lowest depth that like the deepest US submarine has been, manned submarine, like this little submersible is like at least 2 times deeper or something.
Oh my god.
So like it's going real deep. And like they can't even see outside of it. Like they're like digital display screens from cameras, I think, to like look at the stuff outside. So like why do you even want to go down there if all what you're going to see is a video display of the thing?
Yeah, that's weird. I saw someone like an expert or something and it was asked about it in some interview and it's like it would be easier to rescue people from space.
Oh my gosh.
Like it, yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I'm pretty sure a manned submersible went down into the Marianas Trench.
Oh, like
But
I
you're
guess
just saying like
like
a
like something
submarine,
that
not a
yeah, a
submersible.
submarine that
Yeah.
like customarily would go down so deep.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one does not customarily go so deep as this submersible is going.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Well, and did you see how people are like there's like some video of maybe the CEO or someone kind of showing you inside the thing and like talking about how like anyone can control it through this controller that's like connected via Bluetooth and it's like this cheap like
Logitech or
like $5 game controller. It's just like, oh, that doesn't.
Have they like
And
done
'cause
stuff like this before?
I think
last
they've
year,
done
I
it a
think
couple
like
times.
10 trips or something, if I read correctly.
Yeah, but that yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like so terrifying as Johnny you said there. Like wow, that must be such a terrible way to be down there. It's like, well, we're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it can be found and they can be saved. But in a lot of cases, that, I mean, I don't know, but it seems unlikely. It's almost like it would probably be better if, I don't know, somehow they just died instantly.
Yeah.
Gosh. Ugh,
Yeah,
that's
rather
awful.
than having to be like stuck in some wreckage somewhere,
And yeah.
knowing you probably won't be found. And even if you are, it'll be difficult to somehow pull you out and then get you the whole way to the surface to then be cut open. But yeah, I guess this is just one of those things. It is kind of like SpaceX and all that stuff. I don't remember Amazon's rocket ship of these things about commercializing these sorts of, I'm just going to say final frontier type thing. Is like, would you like to spend a couple $1,000,000 to go into space for 5 minutes? Would you? And it just seems,
And maybe die.
yeah. Yeah. It, yeah, it's
God, I feel so
grim,
awful
dark.
for all the families and everyone involved. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Eric you said, like it would almost be the most merciful thing is like maybe like they ran into something, the cabin like burst open, they just all died. Rather than
Yeah.
what I suspect might be is they're just waiting to suffocate.
Well,
And
like
like have
when,
no food.
like how long could they
Like
even
apparently
last
they
down
have
there?
40 hours left of oxygen or something.
Okay.
Like what is probably going to happen is they will run out of oxygen.
But then yeah, like is there much food in there? Like there are other life
I mean,
support stuff, like
probably not
temperature.
that, but
Yeah.
like you can last a while
Without food.
eating.
I'm just thinking about like, well, but do you have water? Like, did the temperature control stuff stop working along with other components such that
Yeah, it's just you
Yeah.
question so much. Like, why was this even a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
well, that that company is not going to be solvent anymore, I don't think. Well, considering the CEO has potentially been lost too. Yeah, wow. Yeah, horrifying.
Ugh.
Horrifying.
In other news, Christopher Nolan's Robert Oppenheimer film,
Mm-hmm.
like I've seen some headlines about how it must be pretty good.
That's what I hear. That's what I
Like
gather. Kai Bird
like
was thrilled.
yeah, so Robert
Who's one of the
Oppenheimer,
authors.
the lead of
Nuclear
the Manhattan
physicist.
Project, a film's being made about that. Um, and it's based on a biography of Robert Oppenheimer that the three of us read, or at least read most of it when we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very compelling biography.
Well, we met with Kai Bird
Yeah,
and
one
asked
of
him
the
questions
two.
and stuff too, right?
Yeah, one of the two authors came and gave a talk at the college or the university that we had went to. And this must be based on that book.
It's
So,
cool.
like,
Are you gonna, Greg? Are you gonna go to King of Prussia to see it in like
one of the few places that
with IMAX?
maybe. It's like 3 hours though, so it's pretty long.
That's why the film weighs like 2 tons, like the roll of film.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So I think they worked with Kodak to make the first black and white IMAX film,
Hmm.
which is interesting.
Yeah, hopefully it's good because I think there are a lot of parallels and there is kind of a lot of information about his struggle with the role of science in
Mm-hmm.
sort of like the world stage and politics and all that. Like, there are a lot of lessons that no one knows about or everyone forgot about from
Yeah.
sort of like his life. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was recently talking about it with somebody, and yeah, they didn't even know who Robert Oppenheimer was. So,
Oh my god. Yeah, I guess that checks out.
yeah,
That
Nah,
checks
but
out.
yeah, hopefully it's good. Like, I mean, Nolan's a talented director, and so like I feel it'll probably be pretty good.
yeah,
I feel it's one of the few things that even though I hear a 3 hour runtime, I'm not discouraged.
yeah. Like, I will go and see it. But like other things that I've heard had
Mhm.
that runtime.
It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not going to see a pushing 3 hour Marvel movie. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I don't care enough.
is it out like next month or something?
I think it's next month, so it's not out yet.
July 21st, apparently. Yeah, so there's a little bit of time. No, but it is interesting. Yeah, like, I feel most people, I wonder if they would even recognize his name. Hopefully this movie makes it such that more people actually do.
Well, and hopefully it does well too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's been getting some like acclaim, and there are news stories just talking about the technology associated with IMAX and
Yeah,
that
that's
sort of
good.
thing, which I think is interesting.
I feel I should go back and reread American Prometheus.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
fucking Kai Bird, one of the two authors, a quote: "I am at the moment stunned and emotionally recovering from having seen it."
Hmm.
I think it is going to be a stunning artistic achievement, and I have hopes it will actually stimulate a national, even global conversation about the issues that Oppenheimer was desperate to speak out about, and how to live in the atomic age, how to live with the bomb, and about McCarthyism, what it means to be a patriot, and what is the role for a scientist in a society drenched with technology and science to speak out about public issues.
Yeah, I think it
And yeah,
is
so
a
that's what you were
very.
speaking to, Adam, a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I think it is very uh, potent still with things like hell, the
God,
war in
yeah.
Ukraine, and Russia being obviously still a nuclear power, and everyone being kind of concerned about how to push back against that without that threat of, because nuclear deterrence is obviously a big thing for a long time throughout the Cold War and so forth.
Yeah.
And then it kind of came to an end, but obviously it's kind of back in focus again. And with, I feel also the rise of, uh, I don't know, alt-right sort of stuff, and even just not trusting science due to like propaganda and fake news type stuff through COVID and such. I think.
Yeah, I
Did you
feel.
remember that American Prometheus won the fucking Pulitzer Prize?
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, I feel. Yeah.
Like
At least here
when
in
I read
America.
it, like it was a very compelling read.
Yeah. Well, I
But anyway,
feel
go
at
on.
least
Sorry,
here in America, like it seems like America's or the general population's trust of like science and the government is like, whew.
all time low.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
bad.
mean, I feel it's a lot of things, but God, Donald Trump did not help those things. Just like giving a voice to that a minority of,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm excited to see it. Probably not in IMAX, or at least not a true IMAX. Perhaps I will try to go to an IMAX theater. I don't know.
The Chicago Tribune said it was the best book of the year. And Discover magazine said it was the best science book of the year. Nice. Yeah, so I'm anxious to watch the film. Maybe I'll go back and actually read the book again and consider it more. I guess Dr. Day in years past, he wrote a book about Oppenheimer as well, correct?
He did.
Yeah, I have a copy of it somewhere
I think
here.
I do too. He was our physics professor, or one of the physics professors at our university, who was also a scholar on Oppenheimer and related like nuclear issues and such. And I guess that is the main reason we read the book and had a lot of discussions about the different issues and stuff of that time and I guess of now.
Hmm.
If there are no Titans in it, I'm disappointed. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else too interesting being pushed on the Warhammer community site or any of that.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I guess excited for the Virginia Inc. 28 event that's coming up relatively soon next month.
Yeah, no, that should be very interesting. There are a lot of people making models and stuff for that. I guess I've started to do some work on a Spirehead type model. That'll hopefully, if all goes well, I'll finish the model and paint it to bring to the event. But I guess I'm working at my characteristically slow, methodical pace, so we'll see.
Yeah, I got some stuff out to be painted, and as expected, have been slow about it as well.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, I feel I'm finally trying to do something with one of these Sisters of Battle from the Triumph of Saint Catherine. That like box set of all the heavily robed sisters. I remember I bought the set soon after it was released, thinking like, man, these models are gonna be great. I'll be able to really quickly convert some cool like Ink 28 models and like, yeah. And here we are, I don't know how many years later, and I've not made a single one. But that might change by the end of this month or early next month. I still feel like it is a great starting point for converting like heavily robed and interesting models.
Mhm.
And I think it's also neat that the majority of the models they are also not holding weapons or anything like that, which I think sort of adds a little bit to some of the models. And like since they're heavily robed and whatnot, like there's certainly room for them to have weapons and whatnot, but they're not like the focal point of the model, like with so many of the models GW puts out today.
Mhm.
I will say though, for this model, they have that all those scrolls. My goodness, what a nightmare to trim. The mold lines for the
Yeah.
model were pretty awful, and ugh.
Understandable. Johnny says he's painting now. That's kind of exciting.
Nice.
Because you had shared some photos of the gaming board that you had been working on for a while now, and that this has maybe inspired you to get back at it, which is pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I got. There was recently an I think Andrew May Kickstarter with a bunch of miniatures Anna from Gardens of Hecate had made that I just got in the mail today, and maybe I'll try to paint one of those with these little weird goblins of mine.
Was that the
Among
one
some
where
other things.
they had like almost like the little fir tree, the little pine trees and stuff like that with legs?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
great. They're great.
So I don't know. I hope that when I actually truly get into the painting process rather than like kind of the priming and preparation phase, it'll kind of fall into place and I'll
Well, so I almost feel like if I'm starting to paint this model here that I'm working on, I would sort of like to paint two of like maybe like two of the little tree things to go along
with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like little weird familiars like
Are they like little haystack things? I don't.
they
Two
could be
little
whatever.
tree things to go along with what?
The Spirehead model that I'm working on.
Well, so Adam, I had ordered all of them, and they're supposed to be come to your house.
Oh, so then I'll probably get them.
So if
soon.
Eric, you just got them probably within
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah.
Because there are some interesting models. The one that I was considering painting has like kind of a bovine skull and a bunch of bells and like a glove
Yeah,
or something.
that's I feel the one that feels the most appropriate.
Yeah. But then there's some little Baba Yaga like buildings with chicken legs.
Yeah.
They're
The B skip.
Mhm.
yeah, that look kind of like there's a bigger bee skep and 3 little tiny ones.
Nice.
And then there's some also like tall ghost things with like various skull heads, which may also feel could also be useful
Yeah.
depending on what I do.
Also, this model that I'm currently working on, you can sort of see from some of these pictures, but they have like a holstered shotgun on their side. I
Yeah, that's
took
cool.
the new like heavily armored enforcers from that Kill Team boxed set. We spent a long time lambasting their stupid shotguns. Well, they have a whole series of holstered shotguns that you can glue on their backs, and
Mhm.
it's it's humorous, but those holstered shotguns are smaller than the shotguns they're actually carrying in their hands, which I mean obviously isn't surprising because the
That's
ones they're
GW.
yeah, the ones they're holding in their hands are so massive. But despite that, yeah, they're cool. Despite that, I still cut off maybe like 25% of like the holstered shotgun to make it smaller and more manageable. So, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, in just like pretty much all GW holstered weapons, they're always too big, but they're always smaller than the weapons they're actually carrying.
Yeah,
Always.
classic.
Yeah, classic
Classic.
GW move. Well, this
Mhm.
model itself also has, if you assemble the model as was intended, they have 2 like holstered bolt pistols or whatever on their back, or like on their waist. And if you actually look at those, no way one of the sister battle bolt pistols would fit in those holsters. They're just a completely different pistol. Um, and so those are always the things that I sort of wonder when one of the sculptors is sculpting the model. Like, do they think about that? Like, what do they think when they're making it? You'd think they would at
Yeah.
least think like, oh, well, I should make sure the weapons they're holding fit in here. And then do they go and try and realize like, well, I guess that won't work. That looks bad. And then they change it and make it a little smaller, but still not small enough. Like, what's the thought process? I guess now it's probably more along the lines of they have a spreadsheet with all the things that they have to include and like roughly what sizes things should be, so they have kind of a design
Yeah.
layout or reference that essentially dictates all of that. Is a shame. I will say one other thing about this model. Since you have to glue together so many different halves of pieces and so forth, and since most of the model just has different robes and such, oh my gosh, the number of gaps and things in the model. If you don't do something to either like melt the pieces together and smooth out the seams, they
Mhm.
are not going to look good. They are not going to look good. So I feel this is certainly not, the base model is certainly not one for an inexperienced hobbyist. because I guess you can even see in. No, I don't have. I don't think I still. I don't have one of the pictures, but yeah, the gaps are extreme, and if you just don't glue it together just right, it looks even worse. And I think based on the order at which you put things together and glue on different pieces could sort of make it impossible to fit together properly. So that's a cool feature. Cool feature. How much do you think the Triumph of Saint... How much does that cost? I don't remember how much I paid.
$80 or something. I'm not sure, but yeah,
$115. It's temporarily out of stock online. That's strange.
sounds about right. Sounds about right.
It does, doesn't it? One of the other things about this set, the little weird cherubs and stuff that are floating carrying the banners and stuff, they're pretty interesting looking. One of them has like a little gas mask and stuff. I feel if you were ever interested in like the little cherubs and stuff, these are probably some of the nicer ones they've made. They're also very small. Smaller than some of the others they've released. I mean, I don't really like the look of the cherubs and such, but if you're into that and think they're cool, these are probably some of the cooler ones they've made.
Yeah, their cherubs aren't very cool, but yeah, I think they are better. Yeah.
The big scenic base is honestly kind of neat too. You could probably actually do some things to make kind of a little scenic backdrop for models and stuff, building off of this scenic base based on how big it is, honestly. Maybe I'll do that sometime. Probably not, but maybe. Maybe. Okay, so how are people feeling? Are there other things we want to touch on, or? I guess we can briefly mention that there's a new episode of the new podcast episode for 3228 Magazine's podcast where Eric, you and Greg, you had an interview with someone from Cadabra Records and discuss lots of different things. I think it's kind of a neat bridge between the different hobbies.
Yeah, no, hopefully some people enjoyed it. It looks like it's had about 266 listens so far, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
See you again.
So maybe we can call the stream to a close, everyone. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately should
Yeah,
probably.
I think so.
Yeah, we have work tomorrow. All right, well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Johnny, good luck painting. And to everyone else listening, thanks again for listening. Keep on enjoying the hobby. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, over and out.
Yep, see everybody.
Yeah.